You're not anxious. You're dealing with the wrong person. You've probably been told that you're too much, that you overthink, that you're anxiously attached and need to fix yourself. But what if that's not the full truth? What if your reactions aren't dysfunction, but a completely natural response to someone who is emotionally inconsistent and unavailable? Because here's the reality most people don't say out loud. Consistency creates calm, and inconsistency creates anxiety. When someone shows up fully, communicates clearly, and makes their intentions known, your mind doesn't have to guess. But when someone is hot and cold, present one day and distant the next, your nervous system starts searching for stability. That search gets labeled as anxiety, but in truth, it's your mind trying to make sense of unpredictability. You're not overthinking, you're trying to fill in gaps that shouldn't exist in the first place. You're not clingy, you're reacting to emotional withdrawal that leaves you feeling uncertain. You're not asking for too much, you're asking the wrong person to give what they're not willing to offer. And that distinction changes everything about how you see yourself. Think about it for a moment, because this is where things start to shift. If you were truly the problem, you would feel this way with everyone you meet. But you don't. You feel this way with people who send mixed signals and keep you guessing. With the right person, your mind becomes quieter, your body relaxes, and you stop analyzing every interaction. That's not because you suddenly became secure overnight. It's because you're no longer being emotionally destabilized. An unavailable person doesn't just create distance, they create confusion. They say things that sound meaningful, but their actions don't follow through. They give just enough attention to keep you invested, but never enough to make you feel secure. And that gap between words and behavior is where your anxiety begins to grow. So you start texting a little more, thinking a little harder, feeling a little deeper. Not because you're broken, but because you're trying to reconnect with something that keeps slipping away. And the more it slips, the more your system reacts, trying to restore balance in a situation that refuses to stabilize. This is why labeling yourself as anxiously attached without context can be misleading. It ignores the environment you're in and puts all the responsibility on your emotional response. But human behavior doesn't exist in isolation. It's shaped by interaction, energy, and consistency. When you're with someone emotionally available, your natural state isn't anxiety, it's ease. You don't feel the urge to chase clarity because clarity is already there. You don't feel the need to prove your worth because you're already being valued. You don't question where you stand because your position in their life is obvious. But with someone unavailable, everything feels uncertain. And uncertainty is what fuels emotional tension. Your mind starts asking questions your heart wishes it didn't have to ask. You replay conversations, you analyze tone, you search for hidden meaning in simple interactions. Not because you enjoy it, but because you're trying to feel safe again. And safety is the key word here, because most people misunderstand this entirely. What looks like neediness is often just a need for emotional safety that isn't being met. What looks like overreacting is often a response to repeated emotional inconsistency. What looks like attachment issues is often a reflection of being attached to someone who withholds stability. The truth is, your reactions make sense in the context you're in. Your feelings are not random, they're signals pointing towards something that isn't aligned. And instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" a better question becomes, "What am I responding to?" Because once you ask that question honestly, the answer becomes uncomfortable but freeing. You start to see that the anxiety isn't coming from within you alone, it's being triggered by what you're experiencing. And that realization shifts your focus from fixing yourself to evaluating the connection. This is where your power begins to return, quietly but strongly, because you stop trying to become less emotional and start becoming more aware. You stop shrinking your needs and start recognizing where they're not being met. You stop chasing reassurance and start questioning why it's not naturally present. And slowly, something important happens inside you. You begin to understand that peace doesn't come from suppressing your feelings. It comes from placing yourself in environments where your feelings don't have to fight for stability. So no, you're not too much for wanting clarity. consistency, and emotional presence. You're just finally noticing what happens when those things are missing. And maybe the real growth isn't becoming less anxious. Maybe the real growth is refusing to stay in situations that make you feel that way in the first place.